Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, second part of my conversation about the Star Company with Dave Dzendzel, Steve Taft, and Ryan Jessup. Thanks sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Upper Deck, Topps, and Panini. So here's the second part. Forgive me for going longer, but I'm not going to string out too many 15 or 14 or 13 or 12-minute episodes. This is a little bit longer, and I tried to break in a place where it made some sense. But the guys were on a roll, and they were peppering me, but I think I was peppering them too, in the spirit of people caring a lot about the hobby. So here's the second part of the conversation. No one has brought up that in the early magazines, there were 3 XRCs.
The 195 and the 288?
Yes. All of them were labeled as XRCs that first year of the magazines.
If I was running the Beckett Corporation, the 101 would have been the RC, the 195, the 288, and the 5x7 Court Kings would have been XRCs. Because I agree with you that there should be XRCs for things like the Topps Traded, the Fleer Update Set, things like that. In my personal situation, I just didn't agree to do that with Star Company. Our only disagreement in all these years.
I know, but going back to that time period is that I had the dilemma of deciding also, probably even a tougher decision, that Mark McGwire's Olympic card in an Olympic uniform would still qualify as an RC. By that definition, even though you're saying that in the series that it came out, that the Olympic card or the Rookie of the Year card, and there are other Rookie of the Year cards that are legitimate RCs. So it could be an RC if it filled all the requirements, but since it didn't, it was an XRC. Okay, now again, just proving that I'm not infallible, a year later, I took the XRC off those other 2 cards because that's not what was being accepted. There was a lot more demand and attention on one, way less so on the others. And I haven't researched to see how quiet I was about taking it off, but nobody complained when those other 2 cards were just listed as OLY or ROY, but they were in the same set with the XRC. And what happened, guys, nobody's charted those 4 cards over the course of 39 years. Okay. And you'll see that when I took the XRC off, which was by popular request or opinion, that was the feedback I was getting, those other Star cards froze, were completely stuck. Yet the 101 started climbing such that it got way more expensive in my regime than the 86 Fleer. But again, I didn't have to make those decisions until 1990. And in 91 is when I removed the XRC because, again, I was traveling a lot. Our guys were traveling a lot. Our basketball magazine, huge circulation. We were getting lots of surveys, lots of feedback. And it was like, we consider the 101 being the preeminent card from that set. It's not a special. It's not an inaction. It's not all these other things that are generally not as good. If either one of those had been the only Jordan, then it would have been an XRC.
I don't see those other 2 as XRC. I think removing that was right. I think what you tried to do with the classification, it seems you took this bucket and, hey, this is a catch-all and people get it. Because as you said, things are just getting too chaotic. And you didn't know that in the future, things are going to get really chaotic. Parallels, there's all sorts of stuff that...
A different kind of chaotic, though.
Yeah, that's fine. But what I'm saying is those things change. That it doesn't matter. The cards that you have evolve. There's different products. There's innovation. There's things you're not expecting. And classifying something or trying to get that card, it would have been clearer if that was the RC. The hobby thrives more because there's simply more action and more people like that card because it's seen more, etc. And ends justify the means. That makes sense. But that classification, it's a base card from a base set. It's not extended from anything. So putting it in there, if you would have hired me as a data company with wonderful hindsight that I have now, I would come in and say, this doesn't fit. We either need to rethink how classifications are done, or you're going to have to give this one a different one. If you throw it into the Topps Traded, it's not an extension. It is the base set. If you look at it just semantics wise, they were distributed in packs, not randomized, but it's packs to build a base set. To me, it's very standard vanilla. And some things aren't, I get it. But that correlation is different than a tops traded that is an extension. This isn't an extension. That's one thing that I would say the classification doesn't really work here.
Okay, it doesn't work for you because you've defined it in a certain way. And I had a little bit of this discussion with Dave. So it's not new information for me, but what does XRC stand for? Does it stand for extension rookie card or extended rookie card? It stands for extended rookie card. Star Company, all of those sets are extended sets because unlike the major manufacturers, they generally came out toward the end of the season rather than toward the beginning of the season. And all extended sets have in common that they come out toward the end or the close of the season. The ebb and flow of demand for cards, football cards need to come out at the beginning of football season. If it comes out at the end of the season, it is extended, whether it's in a pack or not. It has the benefit of seeing who the rookies were in that year, so they can load up on that. Hence, 3 Jordans in this set. It was knowing that guy was a future star. And so the extended part has to do with that too, Ryan, not just that it's an extension of a set. No, it's extended in terms of untimely. That's what it has in common with the box sets that came out at the end of the year.
But that's in comparison to baseball sets and how things are being produced then. If there's nothing there, I don't see how it can be extended if you're not comparing it to something that doesn't exist.
The standard of the day was that basketball cards should come out at the beginning of basketball season. Football cards should come out at the beginning of football season. Baseball cards should come out at the beginning of season. Every star set was late, and other ones that are late are called extended sets, or they're the update set. So it's not just the fact that it's not in a Topps box. Star did not have their act together. Maybe they wanted to bring it out at the beginning of the season, but for whatever reason, they were late. They were slow. They were understaffed. And so it had the effect of making all those star sets like extended sets because they were complete sets that came out toward the end of the year. If there'd been another basketball licensee, Star would have been at a disadvantage. They would have been coming out a lot later.
Or they might have done it earlier. I mean,
they should have done it earlier because the demand is throughout the season, not at the end of the season.
But if there's nothing there, it's not comparable really to anything.
No, but guys, they had a failed business model. They went out of business because their sets were late. You want to say they didn't sell out. They didn't sell out because when people wanted basketball cards, of those who wanted basketball cards, it's when the season is hot. It's not at the end of the season. That's well known. So they messed up and they're not considered a major manufacturer because of that. Because Fleer wouldn't have done it that way. Topps wouldn't have done it that way. Upper Deck later wouldn't have done it that way. But they were
acknowledged, and I've acknowledged that it is smaller. That timing should be the main extension. Yes, and
I've heard this additional thing. I'm saying it's an additional thing. It's the untimeliness of a late season set.
There's one advantage Star had with being late was that they had current photographs. Whereas if you look at 86 Fleer, say the Magic Johnson card as an example, that photo's already been used in the 84-5 Court Kings from Star. While I agree with you about them being late, it did allow them to have up-to-date photographs. The other thing, a lot of people maybe thought Star Company had their own printing factory. They didn't. He subcontracted everything. The graphics people, the print shop, everything that went into producing cards was a subcontractor. So the process of going from one to another did take some time. And that's probably why it was late. Not an excuse for it being late, but probably why.
Okay, I take your point on that, but are you sticking up for Star's graphic design? I'm not sure they're going to win any awards.
I'm just saying
that one of the worst looking valuable cards out there. Of a poor choice.
Like the border.
Oh, yeah.
I like the border.
The photo choice was rough on the 101.
That they weren't winning awards for their graphic design.
No.
You're pretty basic.
I'm not arguing.
But it's not a beauty pageant, right?
I know, but if they were taking more time to make it stadium club quality, then that's different. But these were not great photos, but they were the only game in town and they were fully licensed. I do not deny that. And that's the main reason we're having this discussion.
I guess that's what makes Star, in a way, you can call it bad, quote unquote, but I also find this cool, and it's a startup compared to Topps. Obviously, you didn't have a monthly out, and baseball was the focus. Remember, back then, there wasn't any sports cards. It was baseball cards. We all called them baseball cards. For you, you're close. You obviously had football cards and all that stuff. But for kids and everything, there were no price guides back then. There was Beckett, and that was it. And you didn't call it a price guide either. You called it a Beckett. Do you have your Beckett? We didn't even know what price and guide, we didn't know putting those words together were. Those kind of things do matter. In having this to where Star was by itself, did it create these things? But I want to say you have to allow for some of this that I find nuanced. Like Dave said, I thought that was a good word in terms of looking at this and using that against it when I don't know if the weight should have been put behind that stuff. But it is good to know. I didn't know that part of it.
A lot of hindsight, guys, and you're not saying wrong things. It's just there's additional information and there's the time aspect of being there, what the perceptions were. Let's talk about Star Company now, because that's a big part of this. And I'm going to be a little bit harsh, Steve. So nothing against you or Bill Schoncheck or Norman and Judy Kay or Todd Krosner and Gary Fillers,
Joe Sack,
Joe Sack.
John-
I love Joe Sack.
John Gilbert,
Okay.
Dan Stickney.
Okay. You have to be a major company to have a rookie card, even if it's licensed.
I say no.
But do you have to be a major card manufacturer to be a rookie card?
I'm
I would
assuming you're
say
asking
no,
for-
because maybe that small manufacturer might become a big manufacturer. Didn't
Right.
happen in Star's case, but who was to know that Topps would become the big boy on the street for many years back in 51, 52, 53. And we
Start
still
somewhere.
call some of those cards rookie cards, but they weren't the mega company back then.
To the victor belongs the spoils. Tops.
Yeah.
And so they got to determine. So it's Tops. But what about the 51 Burke Ross?
A
Koozie?
lot of people tell me they think that's his rookie card.
Yeah, but that's not a major card manufacturer, even though it's a multi-sport set, and even though it was issued in deterministic packs or sets,
Well,
group, that's
point
problematic.
yeah, but I've been thinking about these labels, and we've got a little controversy. If we say it's a rookie card, if it's an XRC, is it a true RC?
Just say it's a rookie card. It is a rookie
Well,
card. It's
How
just
about
not,
th-
by definition, I don't believe it's an RC. I'm not even sure it's an XRC, but if it has to be
I-
something, it's more like an XRC because, Ryan, it's more of an extended set because it wasn't a
Well-
mass-produced, mass-distributed set in packs. It just doesn't fit. They came in little boxes.
where I want to go with this is to add a new category and call it a first rookie card. The Star 101 is a first rookie card. The Koozie Burke Ross is a first rookie card.
What about 60-61 Cons, Big O and Jerry West?
Oscar and West, that's a first rookie card also. Maybe in the 68 Topps test cards, there's some more.
Go find me a
I'm
Chet
just-
Walker.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out. Is there going to be a fourth category?
Is that category already, Steve? You are highly respected. And when you put things in your ads or on your table and explain, you are being truthful and explaining, and you're not hyperbolizing. You're telling it like it is. The only thing we're disputing is that the term of art of RC or XRC, that is a label that is supposed to mean something and be consistently meaning something. And XRC is the tricky one, but even RC is a trick. But for you to say it's the first rookie card all spelled out, not only do I not have a problem with that, I think that's good marketing, that's good business, and it's true. But the hobby in the late 80s, especially early 90s, mid 90s, it rebelled against too much alphabet soup. Just tell us what the rookie card is.
It
And
can't
if
get
it's
too
an XRC,
complicated.
just tell us that. Don't put a bunch of asterisks and FFCs and things like that. Just keep it simple and just tell us what the cards are worth. I listen to that, even though my nature, Ryan, is to overclassify and to have many more classifications. And my wonderful employees, many of whom Steve knows, fabulous team, would talk me off the ledge. They'd say, hey, that may be technically accurate, but it's too complicated. We've got to get something that the average person can know what the rookie card is.
I
And
suspect Rich Klein is still talking you off the edge.
occasionally, so it's not just a major company, 78 Kellogg's, Eddie Murray. Now, people can say that's a rookie card, but it's not really an RC. But it was in his rookie year, nationally distributed, really available in every grocery store, came out throughout the year. Anybody that wanted it could have had it. Okay. It has greater demand because of when it came out. The 75 Hostess Robin Yount, I guess you guys probably aren't baseball guys, but that's also in his rookie year. And if you try to sell on eBay, you'll tout that. But those things were never in the magazine. They never had an RC on there. And it's because they were major manufacturers, huge companies, but not major card manufacturers that had longevity. Maury Wills, 61, Post made 100 million cards. Certainly, it's a lot more than Star, and yet nobody thinks that's his rookie card.
Right, because I think that gets to the too complicated and trying to come in to get those obviously simplified definitions and obviously doesn't work across so many different types of things.
It doesn't work perfectly, Ryan.
No, it won't.
Admittedly, it doesn't work perfectly.
And well aware of that.
I'm not looking for perfect. I'm looking for the most helpful to people to help them understand without too much translation. Otherwise, you need an encyclopedia for the price guide.
As
And
you called
that
it, to
one
be
time.
in the know. You said that you have to know and be in the know. I agree with that. Maybe this is a case for the classifications working a lot of other places, but here to me on this Jordan, the XRC doesn't work for kind of a multitude, but it comes down into that.
It doesn't
But
work to the tune of $900,000. What's not working?
no, I'm just looking at the classification. If this was the rookie and it was the only one, that would have changed perceptions a long time ago and it would have played out differently. We truly believe it would be worth a lot more if it was. It would be this very unique thing. You have one of the most transcendent athletes. He transcended sports. This rookie with a low population rookie card and what that would have been and how that would have played out. So I actually think had there not been the Star Jordan, it would have been thought of and played out differently. I think that is pretty fair to say. But my problem on the classification is those things that are focused on the manufacturer. It gets a little too nuanced and it gets a little too close to it. You have so much information. Like you said, you overclassify, you tend to get going in your mind and clump all these things together because you know all this. And we call it, you're getting too close to it and you need to back away. And that's what we have teammates for. And I have it too. That's why when I get on and I debate my coworkers and they'll tell me sometimes straight out things like that. And that's how we help each other. Just like what this is.
No, they weren't talking me off this ledge. They were just talking me off the multiple acronyms that are no longer there. But Ryan, to your point, which card is more valuable for Willie Mays or Mickey Mantle, the RC or the first Topps card?
First Topps.
Okay, so why didn't RC help the 51 Bowmans have a greater price? They're just as scared.
Here's the funny thing. I don't care about price. I'm more, just a collector. To be honest, I really just have it. I think it would play out that way. More action on the 86 Fleer, but people like me, and I know my friends and people, especially in the star groups, a lot of them are very rookie card focused. So if that's where they're going to go to that. And if you remove the RC from the 86 Fleer, look at the market cap on that thing. If you times the population counts to how much money is in it, that market cap is huge. And you would take a considerable amount of that market cap away, I believe, if you put it over here, because Fleer didn't last forever either. Today's generation, I think Topps stood many decades and the test of time and almost was a household name. That actually has more power to it than Fleer did. But just in terms of looking at the card, to me, it's very easy to look at and go, that's the first card, that's the rookie, but FFC, right, with the alphabet soup. I get that one of my solutions that I would propose, all of them have flaws, because what do you do with that? And at the time, to me, again, I'll say it, I believe the 86 Fleer is a third-year card, but there was a lot of action on it, and you're seeing that, and you're seeing the differences, and all of that is rational. I don't think you were illogical. Matter of fact, you were taking a lot of things into consideration, especially what you're seeing it shows, the action on it. It's in how many cases, people love it. So all that's in there. But if it were not the rookie, I agree, it wouldn't have had the action, but the 84 Star clears that. It helps reinforce that definition. That's what people call the true rookie card. It helps to look at that and look at other cards. Okay, now that I see that distribution isn't a thing, because all of a sudden distribution gets thrown in this argument, but why not over here? Why not National Treasury? That's an expensive set that really isn't a democratic process. That weeds a lot of people out. These high-end products,
it's a little bit apples to oranges. It's not fair to jump to the ultra expensive sets. We did discuss that. That was coming in vogue as I was leaving the company, selling the company. And it's problematic that rookie cards would be serial numbered to a small number. And that was undemocratic. But that was just emerging in my regime. And I was against it, Ryan. I think that's bad. I think rookie cards ought to be accessible to everybody. They ought to be nationally distributed, pack pulled, but they can't be really nationally distributed unless they're distributed by a major card manufacturer. And so I'm going to be pretty critical of Star because I've got the gloves on with respect to Star. Y'all know what Broders are? Broders are perceived to be unlicensed cards that are poor quality and just put out there for the player of the moment. But the biggest problem with Broders, one of the most prolific card manufacturers, Rob Broder, over the last 40 years, and there was an air of mystery there. You didn't know where his office was or where he was coming from, but certain dealers just had him. It was not a bona fide card company, even though they were producing cards. They weren't licensed, okay? But the problem with Broders, the biggest problem was not the unlicensed stuff. It was easy reprint ability. And that's why Star, in the eyes of some of the dealers, was one step above Broders because there was a perception, Steve, and you've tried to debunk this, but there have been some problems with Star. In fact, PSA threw up their hands and said, hey, this is too hot to handle. Okay, we still graded them because we had you in our corner to make sure we weren't grading bad ones. But the public perception was that Star was one step above Broders. These were very simply made cards. They weren't made at graphic converting or whatever, the main card printers. Okay. He's doing it at quick print. Okay. That's why the register is not always good. The centering is not always good. And that is what Broder did. Very low quality. So that was a problem. And that's really what dealers thought. They thought if we take these, and they weren't expensive in the beginning, and we take a position, what's stopping this guy from printing some more? It's not a big company. In fact, it might not even be a company. It's a guy that answers his own phone and outsources everything. It's a virtual company. Not only not a major, it was scary to the dealers who were skeptical. And the fact that they didn't see it very much, and there were only 5,000 sets, and he was a man of mystery, that was a problem, guys. So he was put in the Broder category to some degree. There were people mad at me when I put Star Company in the book and then later in the magazine because there's still the shop at home stuff, the problem with his employee, and you're legitimizing him. And I gave the benefit of the doubt, and I trusted Steve for sure. And I said, let's let the market determine. And I'm not saying he was a crook. I'm just saying that in business practices, he was not trusted, not considered a major manufacturer. And the national distribution can only be pulled off by a major card company. And he couldn't pull it off. They were available, but he wasn't able to push it out.
What if they had grown, like Steve suggested, and they became a mega company like Topps?
Good point.
If they had a 10-year license instead of a 3-year license?
I don't know that they even wanted to renew their license. I think they were on fumes at the end, and they did other stuff that really didn't hit. He had a great chance, and it didn't work. His business plan was bad. His brilliant thing, at which I totally admire, the audacity to walk into an NBA PA and whoever it was, David Stern or somebody, and say, nobody else wants a license. Here's $10,000 for a license or whatever. Again, the chutzpah of that, my hat's off to him. But guys, he couldn't pull it off. He didn't have the visibility with dealers to think, hey, this guy is not going to go back to press. And Steve, I totally trust, but the fact that there are plates and transparencies out there, that's not comforting. Very simply made cards.
Let me speak to some of that. The checks he made out to the NBA, I have the canceled checks. In 1996, Bill Schoncheck bought out office records and the transparencies because Levin didn't have any cards left to buy, and he needed some money to finish up his home that he was building or buying. We don't have all of the transparencies. We have maybe a little over half of them. Why? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if he rented some photos from the NBA on some of them. He did hire 3 photographers because I've got checks with payments to 3 photographers. And from 83 to 86, he was clean as a whistle. There was no foul play. Around 90, 91, when the Type 2s from the 85 6 second series hit, I did a ton of research on that. I was fortunate. I got to talk to the NBA attorneys and did my own research.